Diving into something really cool. What happens when you pair up artificial intelligence with pure human imagination? And I'm not talking about AI as just some simple tool. We're going to look at it as a real creative partner, one that can help you build stories, poems, and even entire worlds. So let's see what that actually looks like. So, have you ever just stared at a blank page, hit that creative wall, and wished you had a brainstorming buddy who was around 24/7? Well, that's kind of the promise here. Using these AIs for creative work is like having an endless well of ideas, turning that blank page into a total playground of possibilities.
Okay, so the first thing we've got to do is just shift our thinking a little bit. We need to stop seeing AI as just a machine that follows commands. Instead, let's really explore what it means to treat it like a genuine creative partner.
Think about it like this. Your AI partner can be your brainstormer, just tossing out totally new concepts. Or it can be your co-writer, jumping in with a plot twist you never saw coming. It can even be your muse, drafting up some poetry or dialogue to get you going. And it goes even further. It can be a practice partner, helping you learn a new language by actually having a conversation with you. It is just an incredibly versatile sidekick. So where do you even start? Well, it all begins with the core ingredients of any story. If we can just feed the AI these simple, fundamental building blocks, we're giving it everything it needs to put together a whole narrative. When you get right down to it, every great story answers three basic questions: a who, a where, and a what. Who's our character? Where are they? And what happens to them? If you can define those three simple things, you're giving the AI a really powerful foundation to build on. Let's actually see this in action. Okay, picture this. A shy dragon. Not your typical hero, right? Now, let's put this dragon in a shiny, futuristic city. And the plot? The dragon has to learn how to be brave. See? Just with those three simple ideas, a really unique story starts taking shape in your head, and the AI has everything it needs to bring it to life. Okay, so once you've got that foundation, this is where the real magic happens. Now you get to be the director, and you can control the entire mood of the story with just a single command. Let's take one simple idea and see how much we can change it. Here's our core idea. It's simple, it's sweet, it's got a ton of potential. A lonely robot finds a friend in the big city. Now, if you just give this to an AI, it'll probably write a pretty heartwarming story. But what if we want something else? Just by adding those three little words, make it funny, the whole thing changes. Suddenly, our robot might be a total klutz, and maybe its new friend is a sarcastic pigeon. The story turns into a series of hilarious accidents. It's the same core idea, but a totally different feel. And now, let's flip the switch completely. Ask the AI to make it scary. That search for a friend suddenly becomes super suspenseful. Maybe the new friend isn't who they say they are, or the city itself starts to feel like it's hunting our little robot. The big takeaway here is that you are in control of the emotional journey. And this doesn't just work for new ideas. You can do this with stories you already know and love. Imagine asking an AI to rewrite Goldilocks, but as a terrifying horror story where she breaks into the wrong house. Or what about Cinderella as a sci-fi adventure, swapping her glass slippers for some high-tech boots on Mars? Seriously, the possibilities are just endless. But hey, being creative isn't just about telling stories, right? An AI partner can expand your toolkit into totally new areas, everything from writing poetry to practicing a performance. You could ask for a poem that sounds like it was written by Emily Dickinson, or you could generate this super tense dialogue between a clever detective and a thief who's backed into a corner. You can even use it to practice your Spanish by having a full-on interactive conversation. All right, now for the really fun part. Let's see what happens when we just throw caution to the wind and combine some wildly different ideas into one single, super imaginative prompt. Let's build a totally unique prompt, one layer at a time. We'll start with something with a lot of energy, a classic rock and roll battle of the bands. Pretty cool. But why stop there? Now, let's just, add dinosaurs. Bam! Suddenly, our rock battle is prehistoric. You've got a T-Rex shredding on guitar and a pterodactyl banging on the drums. It's getting wonderfully weird. And for the final, absolutely absurd twist, let's set this whole thing in a school cafeteria at lunchtime. A rock battle with dinosaurs surrounded by mystery meat and little cartons of milk. This just goes to show you that your prompts can be as wild and bizarre as you want them to be. Here's another fantastic example of mixing things up. You've got the super logical, deductive mind of Sherlock Holmes clashing with the dramatic, flowery language of Shakespeare, and the entire debate has to be a poem. That's a really sophisticated, creative challenge that an AI can actually pull off, blending two completely different voices into something new. Ultimately, what this all comes down to is that these tools are a direct extension of your own creativity. The AI might be the instrument, but you're the one composing the music. Sometimes the most powerful creativity comes from having constraints. The 6-word story is a perfect example of this. It's a challenge to tell a whole emotional story using just a handful of words. This is probably the most famous example there is. In just 6 words, it tells this heartbreaking story of hope and loss. You can challenge an AI to create something with that same kind of short, emotional punch. It really proves that powerful storytelling isn't about how long it is, it's about the impact. So we've seen how AI can be your creative partner, your tool, and basically a limitless playground for whatever you can dream up. From simple building blocks to the most bizarre worlds you can imagine, the only real boundary is you. The tools are right there, waiting. So the real question is, what story are you going to create?